Hey everyone, it's time for Geocache Talk. Whether you're at work, in the car, wherever you are, we hope you enjoy the show. Please give it a like and subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Casts, TuneIn Radio, or Google Play, wherever you can find it, so that you can get all the weekly Geocache Talk goodness. Big thanks to the Trail Bugs for the music and our patrons, Doug Jones, Joshua and Caleb Slinkard, Tom Brotherman, Joshua, the geocaching vlogger, Nick Hubbard, Andrew Teepkin, Cecilia Perez, Sydney Sawyer, Valena Mahar, Jane Jewell, Craig Michelle, the Geo Gearheads, Zach Fick, the Deadliest Cachers, Tim Terrell, Neil Moore, Molly the Geocaching Dog, Dee and David Vickery, Geocaching Adam, Lori Post, Peter Stepanek, the No Code Geocachers, Paula Hughes, Ed Shaper, John Langston, Scott Thompson, Deborah Burris, and our new patrons, Francis Ibero, Geo Rick, and Mel Stowe. Well, let me start by welcoming our co-host. Oh, I left out the support level starts at $3 a month on patreon.com/geocache talk. Okay, let me start by welcoming my co-host, Sydney.
Hello, everyone.
And Jesse.
Good evening. I get to say that again because we're not in the middle of the day. So
That's right. We're back to regular time again.
that's right.
And we're just going to jump right in because we got a lot to talk about tonight. So we're going to jump right into show number 65 for September 3rd as we welcome Angie to the show. Welcome to Geocache Talk.
Hi. Excited to be here.
We're so glad to have you on tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of good questions for you, and I know you've got good answers for us. So, Hopefully. Yeah, no, it'll be great. But we're going to start with some geocaching news. We're going to start with our coin again, and we've sold a couple, so thanks. And I've got one went out Saturday, and one is going to go out on Tuesday, tomorrow being Labor Day. I'm not going to run by there, but there's the coin. I think we've all seen it by now, but ooh, nice coin. Yeah, it was fun making that coin, having them made. Speaking of, a quick note on Keith and Hurricane Harvey. Keith he lives on a boat in down on the coast. I think he's in is he Corpus? I think he's in Corpus. Anyway, well, Keith wasn't sure. He rode out the storm, kind of, and his boat. I don't know if anybody heard this. Some people have heard this story, but he, of course, moored to a dock, and his boat is no longer in that location, but it was still moored to the dock. It's just not, the dock is not where it used to be. Anyway, and he noticed a photo by somebody else, and he goes, "Hey, there's my boat." And so he found where it was, and it was still moored to the dock. Part of the dock was now a quarter of a mile away in the bay, but he was able to get to his boat. He was able to get on board, and he only suffered minor damage, whereas a friend of his who was nearby him lost everything. His boat was completely destroyed. So he was fortunate enough to do that. He took his laptop with him, but a lot of the FTF magazine, old magazines that he still sells. Some people buy the old editions. They're all still there. Everything was all pretty good. He didn't really have much damage. So, shout out to Keith. We're hoping he gets everything back where it needs to be and his home. And of course, we're still thoughts and prayers with all the people that are trying to survive or recover down in the Houston area. It's pretty devastating. It's going to take months and it's going to take a long time to get everything put back together down there. We had a new. Oh, go ahead, Sydney. You're next. I'm sorry.
Well, I believe what you were going to finish was that the coins are available for sale
Yes,
on our
they are.
website.
Sorry,
You kind of lost your train of thought there, I
I
think.
did. I lost train of thought talking about Keith because I was thinking about that because Keith helped us with the process of getting our coins, and so I got distracted by the Keith story. But
So
yes,
I'll be the insensitive one that mentions it then.
okay.
So it's a terrible tragedy down there, and we're not going to get all down into that in the show, but I was sitting thinking the other day when I was watching one of the news, and I felt terrible for even thinking it, but I was like, man, I bet all those geocaches are destroyed for like hundreds of miles. And
Right.
I felt instantly terrible, but I'll be that insensitive guy. I'm not the only one that's thought that. But
Well,
the whole area's got to be, and once they get through all the devastation and get everybody back on their feet, that's going to be a whole different landscape down there. And hopefully there's a network there too for people to start getting back on their feet.
yeah. There have been a lot of people that I know have gone down, left here with truckloads of equipment, truckloads of supplies, headed to that area. But yeah, I thought the same thing, Jesse, in the fact that I hope geocaching.com doesn't, and the reviewers don't give people a hard time, or if anybody tries to, I don't know, be funny or even not be funny, where they're just like, hey, this log's wet. I'm thinking, yeah, you're surprised. It's a shock and a miracle that you even found that cache. I can't believe it's still there. I'm
Yeah,
sure
and
most of
I'm
them
sure
gone.
it wouldn't for me. It wasn't really, I don't care about that geocache. Obviously, I'm not going to Texas. I'm not. It was just thinking down to past the big devastation down to the everyday life.
Yeah.
You think how long it'll be for the everyday life stuff
Mhm.
gets back to normal. Obviously, geocaching doesn't matter in the scheme of that.
No.
But that's just, you don't think about that, like, when will milk be delivered? When you get all the way back to normal in a big devastation like that. So that just kind of took me down a rabbit hole when I was thinking about that. But you see the news reports, and all you see is the destruction, not the everyday stuff.
Yeah, and we talked about before how for a lot of people, if people are going through whatever struggle they're going through, whether it's personal struggles or, in this case, devastation of type things like the show, things like geocaching, just are ways to kind of forget about that stuff for a little while. And so, like you said, I hope I know people will fix their caches, and hopefully we didn't lose too many cool caches that have been out there for a long time. But it's just something that is a nice break from the struggles that people do go through. And we even talked about, do we spend much time talking about it? But we only spend a couple minutes doing it because we want people to hopefully use this show as a way to kind of forget about the week and forget about things that are going on in your life that you're struggling with, and talk about cool stuff like geocaching and coins. And
so for the rest of the show, all silliness.
All silliness
just fun for the rest of the show
is allowed. Yes.
There you go.
And so that was cool. Yep. Buy a coin. I got plenty left.
We'll get back to Sydney. We got off track there for a second.
Go ahead, Sydney.
This is not anything new, so
Hey.
Anyways, we have a new blog post up on our website. It is called More Than Just a Geocaching Log Sheet, and it was sent in by Sir Drumalot. And you can find our blog at geocachetalk.com/blog. It's a good URL right there. And if you guys, our viewers, have any ideas or want to write a blog entry, you can send that to Sarah, the Geocaching Junkie. And thank you, Sarah, for coordinating our blog. And she is more than willing to work with you, writing up a blog post and, helping you figure out ideas and stuff like that. So, and then also check out Sarah's blog, thegeocachingjunkie.com. She posts a lot of cool stuff on there. She travels a lot, so lots of cool stuff.
Yes, she does. Good stuff.
Well, in local news, Colorado got its first history cache. Oh, I said that wrong again. Its first new virtual cache.
Virtual cache.
First history cache.
Oops.
This one's not
and
about
I'm excited.
history.
It's kind of about history with
Oh,
a
yeah?
Harry Potter theme.
Mm.
So it's a 4.5 4. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's not a drive-by virtual. So that looking at it, I haven't done it yet. I just saw that there was one today that just came out. It's Harry Potter themed, so that's pretty cool. It's in Denver, which is good too. And it looks like it's got multiple waypoints, so you have to do a lot, and you have to bring items with you. It looked like several different tools that you have to bring with you to get it done, to get these secret messages that are hidden somehow. I don't know how they've got it done because there's no physical stages, so
Ooh,
should be
that
pretty
is
interesting.
cool.
Yeah, so at least our first one is not a super quickie. It'll take a little time to get done, so that's exciting.
And you can find all of the new virtuals on our website, and we have we listed the first 12 that came out, and then we have a link to go, and you can check out all the ones that are now available, over 300, and kind of cool to look at the list and just see where things are and how close you are to the nearest one for you. Or maybe if you're planning a trip, you can kind of go take a quick look and go, hey, there's a new virtual that would be cool to put on the list.
And the link to that one I just mentioned will be in the show notes if anybody wants to go check that one out too. So,
yep, GC7 B as in boy 8GQ, and yeah, that one looks very cool. So
it's got a neat write up in it too. It's a full page write up, so I'm excited to go do it.
I like those that have that. So something we talked about, and for all those out there that are listening and they own a virtual that they're going to be able to put out, and I'm sure you've already been admonished or encouraged. We are also encouraging you to take your time to come up with a really good virtual like this one that was mentioned, and give it plenty of thought. You don't have to rush out there and do one. Won't be first. There's 300 plus over there, and Jesse's putting up 5.5.
For the viewers, just 5.5. Just gonna 5.5.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna throw that out there.
There's a 5.5, and Geo Paul, I know he listens to the show every week in his little trip into London, and Paul, you kind of need to go back to a spot you've been to before. It's a 5.5, but it's at the top of one of the highest points in Great Britain. So get back up there again, buddy, and go find that virtual at the top again. So he's been up there before, but he needs to go back and do that one, and I'm sure he'll do a post, either something which we'll talk about tonight. He'll either Periscope it or he'll put it on his vlog, which we'll get to here in a minute. But before we do that, I have a note I want to read, or part of it, from Tick Magnet, something we also have been doing on our website. And if you have any 2017 resolutions you're working on, we still have time in 2017. And if you want us to track it on the geocachetalk.com website, send it in to geocachetalk@gmail.com, and we will put that up there. But Tick Magnet was recently out at the Going Ape event, and he sent us an email. It says, "Hi, Geocache Talk. At the beginning of this year, you asked about caching goals. Mine was to finish the Jasmer challenge. In August, I went to Washington for the Going Ape event. It was wonderful to hike the tunnel, find the Project Ape mission number 9, Tunnel of Light. I thought it was gone forever. We all did. We really didn't think this thing was going to ever come back, and so it's wonderful that it is back. Now we have 2 ape caches we can pick from. He also found, on the way, I found Iron Horse, which is an October 2000 cache. The laid-back atmosphere of this mega event made it easy to meet and visit with geocachers from all over, and he met with Bunch. He pointed out Ryan. I don't know if Ryan's in the chat room tonight, but Ryan Semmel, a friend of ours in Kansas, who he got to meet there, and said that Ryan's a great guy, and we would echo that as well. We love Ryan. He's a great guy. And met people from all over France, Sweden, Germany, Australia. And he did the hike to GCD, which is another very, very old one, being that it's only got 3 letters in its name. I think it's one of the last ones that doesn't have a number in it, I don't think. One of the last, if not the last one. I know it's close to the last one, or last 3-digit or something with no letter or no number. So he went to Monte Cristo, and he lists several other places that he got to go to. So very cool. And he finished up his email by saying that he's 7 caches away from Jasmer Loop 2. So, ooh. Jesse, that's it's sounds familiar, doesn't it?
It does. It's funny how quick that second loop will come at you.
That's right. How do you know how close? If you were off the top of your head, do you know how close you are to loop 2 of? Another dozen probably is all.
Yeah, I think I'll be down to, once I get the ones that are closer to me, so within my state, I'll be down to 5, I think.
Okay.
But there's like 5 or 6 in my state that I can still go get. So
right. That's cool though. And so he goes, "Here we go again. Thanks for a great show, Ed Shaper, aka Tick Magnet." So, yeah. So if anyone else is working on, their resolutions, let us know, and we'll definitely put that on the website.
How are you guys doing with your resolutions? Not good, Gary?
No. No. I've done some, but I really haven't devoted the time I need to devote to. And I got to put out a 5.5, but the problem is now a 5.5 to me is no longer really accurately a 5.5. So I've really got to rethink that, because I got to go by the Jesse 5.5. Well, there's a 5.5 in the world, and there's Jesse's 5.5. So
you do have a large blue container you could use.
I do. Where is that thing? I got over here. Jesse gave me a very cool Where I Go ammo can. I need to put that thing out. So, all right, gonna work on that. We're gonna do it.
Sydney, how are you doing on yours?
Well, I finished my calendar in April, I think. And then I didn't really have any other specific goals, I don't think, just to work on Jasmer, but that hasn't happened really, because I have to make some big trips to really put a dent in that. So,
and Angie, what's your goals for this year? Did you set any goals?
I set a few. The 2 main ones, I wanted to reach 900 finds, which I just did. So that's really
congratulations!
Exciting. Thanks.
Good job.
And then I wanted to knock off some more pages in the DeLorme challenge in North Dakota, and I think I've got about 5 pages that I did this year. So
very cool.
Still have a few to go, but
the DeLorme challenge is interesting. If nobody's ever looked at the DeLorme maps, they're kind of funky, because you could kind of get some weird looking, but yeah, that's cool. They're square, like Colorado, I think, is probably a pretty normal DeLorme, but New York is like a weird DeLorme look to it, right?
Yeah.
Colorado's is pretty hard though, the way it's divided up.
Oh, that's the other thing too. It was, if they divide them up weird, they can be really difficult, like you said.
That's one of our, not DeLorme, but the counties is one of our goals for this year. So that, and I had my goal of 5.5 related goal that I got earlier in the year, but the one we have left now is doing the counties. And there's some pretty remote counties in Colorado, so we'll be squeaking in right at the end of the year if we're able to get this one done.
But that's cool, and that's a good idea. Like Angie's saying, that's an interesting challenge, and that's the great thing about geocaching is there's 1,000 different things you could sort of challenge yourself to do.
Yeah, every one of our goals were pretty different, so that shows how many different goals you can have just between the 4 of us.
Yeah.
In other news,
yes,
we have a winner for our August iTunes review contest. And
just in. We have a winner. I was doing Sydney's usually.
That was great, Gary.
News break.
It is Sick One from Australia. He's usually in our chat room, but I haven't seen him yet today. But congratulations, Sick One. I believe I'm saying that correctly this time. Be sure to send us an email with your mailing address, and we will send you one of our awesome new coins.
Yes, we will.
Well, Gary will, because he has most of them. So
Yeah.
Gary will send that to you.
I'll send it your way. So thank you so much, Sick One Magnet, for putting that in, and for everybody who put them in. It was a good idea, Jesse, you had to do that. We had a bunch of new ones.
I was due for a good idea.
Yeah.
That was my third goal for this year.
Good idea.
Come up with a good idea.
Mark that one off the list. It's done.
We got quite a few iTunes reviews. It was kind of cool, and we had really good comments. I mean, like I said, I think all of them were fairly positive. One person kind of they weren't happy with us doing Munzie Talk, which is fine, because one of the things I think is that we're not going to talk Munzie more than a couple times a year. It just happened that we got them a little close to each other, but this is Geocache Talk. We will talk briefly about other things. Podcast of Hope is a night where we do, well, hopefully this year we do 12 hours, and
Woo.
Yeah, trust me, there'll be hours in there. We don't talk a single thing about geocaching, but it's fun. It's all for a good cause. We raised quite a bit of money last year for St. Jude Children's Hospital, and we're going to do that again. I don't know. We're still debating on what charity we're going to work on. We might do that one again. We'll wait and see. But I understand some people don't like us talking about other sports, Munzie or Pokemon Go. We don't really talk much about that recently, but don't fret, don't worry. We only talk about that in a blue moon. So,
but there's other things out there. This show is about geocaching, but it always is going to overlap with other things eventually.
Yeah,
so, I can understand that love-hate. I've been on both sides of it.
Mm-hmm. You and I both.
Yep, absolutely.
So, all right. Well, we're going to get into our topic tonight. Pardon me. So, geocaching and social media. And Angie's excited. She's like, all right, time to get into the show, the actual show. But it's interesting. This really goes out to Joshua Johnson, Joshua, the geocaching vlogger. He suggested this, and Angie, he suggested that you be the one to talk about this.
That's pretty awesome. He
like
messaged me on Instagram, and I was like, whoa. Geocaching vlogger messaged me on Instagram. It felt pretty cool.
We all feel that way. Sometimes we're around Joshua. It's like he's a rock star. We just get to be part of. We like to, get to be next to a legend, and so it's always
same
fun.
When you guys messaged me too. I felt pretty cool.
Oh,
just
thanks.
it out there. Yeah,
that's awesome. We actually, I think all three of us really were like, yeah, she'd be perfect, because we know that you really are sort of the perfect person to talk about this. So before we do that, though, let's kind of do a little background. How and when did you get started geocaching?
Well, me and my husband, we were then dating in college in 2012, and we were bored, and we were Googling what to do when you're bored. And geocaching popped up on a list. And we had heard about it before, but we didn't have the technology to really do anything with it. So luckily they had Blackberries. So we plugged in the coordinates, and there was one right outside my dorm. So we went out there, and it took a few days to find it. It was one of those plates, the silver plates.
Oh, those are tough. Your first cat find.
And I found it, so I don't know if
that's awesome.
Made me even like it more, but yeah. Then we just started going. I got an iPhone, and we were able to go a lot more.
Get started. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You go obviously as a family, and now you have a baby.
Mm-hmm.
How old's your daughter now?
She just turned 1.
Oh,
so she's learning to walk right now.
That is awesome.
And then learning to geocache right after.
Right. Yeah. That's awesome. So
that's cool though, because you have a baby that's already geocaching. Youngest, always be the youngest one each one. That's always when there's a baby at an event.
Yeah. She's been to 2 events now.
Cool.
So it's kind of fun.
Do you log?
Gonna host our first one.
Yeah. Do you log stuff for her, and then you log stuff for?
We actually have a little trackable, and so I've been using that to visit each geocache she comes along with us, and then I use a special hashtag too. So in all the pictures I post online, she can hopefully one day look at that hashtag and see all those pictures.
It's awesome.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
Hopefully she
No,
likes
that's great.
But
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You know, family that caches together is a great thing.
But it's
Yeah.
how old is she now?
she's 13 months.
13 months. So you have like a virtual photo album just in geocaching with her then.
Right
Already.
when she started. I thought about it for a while. I don't know when a good age is to start one, so an account for the kid, but
It's kind of hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does your daughter have one?
Yeah, so I have two, and one was like really little when we started, and one's about to be an adult. So they've both had accounts for a while, and we went through the phases where, oh, they're going to log them, and then they weren't going to log them. And then they thought it was a good idea, and then it was me keeping up with it. And that's a whole different discussion, right, with kids and geocaching accounts. And each of them have hidden caches themselves. They got together with aunts or uncles or whoever, or my wife, and have hidden caches. But then they would not check the accounts, and somebody would send in a message, and then they would get on to me. Your kid's not keeping up with her. So we did it over time, and it ended up being more trouble than it was worth until they're old enough to really actually manage it all by yourself. You're double logging everything. So it's a neat way, and you can always split later too. So just kind of what you have time for, I think.
So you can split when you say split accounts. You can actually they'll duplicate everything you did.
Well,
I've heard
you
that
can
that's
use GSAC.
true.
Oh, GSAC will do it for you.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
heard there's some
there's
way
a-
to do it. That must be at GSAC.
Okay.
Yeah,
But then that's
'cause-
only if it's like every one, right? So you have to copy.
Yeah, I think there's different ways about going about it. Some of it you might have to do manually. But it's good that you have the trackable, because I think there's a way to go through trackable logs and then switch that over to a log for a new geocaching account if you wanted to do that. I think there's a way to do that. I've never done it. Sounds complicated, but I'm sure there's somebody out there that knows how to do it.
You could always go in and manually do it if you want. You know,
You
if
could.
she gets into it
Backlog.
later and she wants to, you could backlog it.
Hmm.
I don't think people would care too much.
Nope.
Be fun though. Okay, so when did you decide to start blogging about geocaching?
Well, I was working when I was pregnant with my daughter, but then I turned into a stay-at-home mom when she was born, and I knew I was going to need to do something, so I decided to start writing. I really love writing, so I was just deciding what topic to blog about. A lot of people were saying you should blog about being a mom, and I was like, I don't know anything about being a mom.
I just started that. I'm not really ready to talk about it, right?
So I decided on geocaching. I'm really excited that I did, because I've met a lot of people just in the past year.
Through the blog?
Through the blog, or I set up I just had Instagram, and then I set up Twitter, Facebook, Periscope. I really looked at YouTube a lot more to just see who's out there. What are they doing? I don't want to be doing the exact same thing everyone else is doing. So it was fun to see the whole community. And there's a lot of people out there on the internet doing things, obviously.
Yeah. There's a lot, and this is something we're going to kind of really theme tonight to talk about. Is just that geocachers sort of approach it so many different ways, and I think it's important that we talk about this because, I don't think some people do. I noticed in the chat room some people are talking about what they do, and some people don't. Like they don't get into all those different things. So it'll be interesting as we go along.
Well, there's some geocachers that have been around for a long time, and they'll never read a blog. No matter how interesting you make it, they'll never read a blog. And I mean, there could even be ones that don't listen to podcasts. I can't imagine that, but there possibly could be.
There's some out there somewhere.
No, I can't. I have trouble imagining it, but there could be. But yeah, there's so many people that are into so many different aspects.
Or into nothing, and I don't know why they're not into something, social media wise.
But that's how they want to play, right?
Well, oh yeah, no, I know.
That's great.
I'm wondering though, and Angie, you probably have a good answer for this one. Is it that they may not care about doing it, or is it that they just don't know that there's a whole world out there that is in Twitter or, US Geocaching Hour or Instagram? I don't really, is it that they don't know about it, you think, or is it that they really are, like Jesse said, they just aren't interested?
I know me personally, I started on Instagram and I was started out just using it as a personal account. And then I posted my first Instagram picture and I used the hashtag Geocache and people commented on it. And I was like, who are these people? I didn't know that anyone could see this picture. And so then I clicked through them and they were posting things about geocaching too. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then when I got all the other platforms, I was like, I just didn't know. I didn't know there were podcasts. I didn't know there was the Geocaching Hour. And then I think when you do talk to other geocachers, they don't even want to touch Twitter. Some of them do. It's like, I don't know where to start with that. My mom doesn't understand it. I know that. The twits and the tweets and the everything. So
yeah, we've got...
It's just wanting to learn.
Yeah.
Put yourself out
there. I think that there's some people like, Jesse, you were mentioning in the chat room to some people, and they're like, who was it? It was Kendall's Kuhn. Kuhn said, Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, and on the Twitter he put in parentheses, I don't really understand its purpose. And it's like,
I didn't understand Twitter for a long time, and I didn't use it for anything I still don't use it for like a personal thing, really. But now I use it for geocaching because of the US Geocaching Hour. So, you can chat with other geocachers, about different topics about geocaching and just see what other people are doing and what they're up to and, what cool caches they found this week. So it's fun to sort of check in with everybody and see what they're doing and how their caching goals are going and stuff like that. So.
Well, I'm one of those kind of people that, like, when I get into a new hobby or anything, and what's the first thing you do is you go and Google it. I want more information on this. And then you find the podcast and all the social media stuff and everything, little Wikipedia. There's a wiki for everything, right, that you can imagine. I'm one of those that wants to look at all the information about it. But I understand that some people just want to play the game how they want to play it and they're not interested. And somebody in the chat room mentioned that they don't like social media because it's just too overwhelming. Well, I can definitely see that. There's a lot that comes with that. I know we're going to get more into that later, but I can see the different perspectives for people and whether they'd want to do it or not.
I think a lot of it is there's still a lot of, I guess, what I would call old school geocachers out there that are still using their GPSR and downloading pocket queries, and so they don't know a lot about Facebook or Twitter. And in my area, it's like the older retired folks that don't really know how to use a computer that well, so they don't know what Twitter is even, and they don't understand Facebook and how do I use this smartphone thing. And so that's kind of what it is in my area personally.
Well, they're probably not going to be on Snapchat then.
Yeah, probably not.
Just going to guess.
Vine. Some of those are gone, but
Vine is totally out, Gary.
I know it's gone now.
God, Gary, you got to keep up.
No, I knew that one was gone because I think Sodak Zach told us about that. He used to be a big Vine user. So
I heard there was a new one called MySpace. I think that's coming out now.
MySpace.
I don't know.
No.
No, not for you.
No. All right. Go ahead, Sydney.
So, recently with the Magic the Gathering trackables, geocaching selected a couple, I guess what you would call popular bloggers and famous geocaching people, and you were one of the lucky people that were selected to get some of these. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that and what your contest was?
Yeah, I was really excited to get that email too. obviously, free trackables. But I was trying to think of a cool contest to have instead of just like my picture, share it with people, do that type of thing. I know you get a lot of people to do that, but I decided to do a virtual travel bug race. So people would virtually pick up the trackable and then drop it in a cache. And then so that would gather miles, and whoever had the most in the end got a travel bug.
And they traveled, some of them traveled a long way, virtually.
Mm-hmm.
What was the longest one you had?
I think it was like 1.5 million miles.
Wow.
Sydney's went pretty far too.
Yeah, mine was only like 400,000, which
only
came in like 5th place. And I was just like, oh my God, this guy is like 1 million miles on his. I'm never going to get that many. It was crazy.
The trick was he used Facebook. He went to a lot of Facebook pages.
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm. I didn't keep up very well with my posting about it, so.
It's a great idea, though, because you're not hurting anything. You're not, like, you know.
I did get some messages, though, about, you know, oh, I don't know if this is okay. Did you go by and ask headquarters if this was okay? And all of that, too. But I learned from it. I think if people use archived caches or use their own caches to drop and place them in, and I think maybe that would have worked out better. Or people wouldn't have said it was bad, maybe. But
I can't see how it could possibly hurt anybody.
No.
I don't know why it would disenfranchise any cache or cacher with that. It sounds like a very fun contest.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
I don't even understand what the complaint is. Hey, you're doing something that I didn't think of.
Yeah, that's kind of what it was, I think.
No fair. I didn't think of it that way first.
Right.
Yeah. I think there's just a lot to do with trackables. I feel like it'd be cool to get like a point system going and or something. You get a souvenir because your trackable traveled to this many countries or something like that. I just find them very neat.
I liked this virtual trackable race because it ensured that my trackable wouldn't get lost.
That's true.
I still have the trackable. It never actually left my house, so it traveled all this way and never got lost.
We're actually going to do a show and talk about trackables because there's a lot to talk about the whole thing.
There's a lot of aspects to trackables.
There really is. I mean, you know, in the movie Treasure, which we've been big proponents of, there are several. We're not going to tell you how many, but there are several that are in the movie. So that's another way to use that, you know, in a medium. You know, that's kind of cool. So that's a great idea. Now, did you? I'm going to put you on the spot, Angie. Did you think of that idea, or did somebody suggest it to you, or how did you come up with that?
Yeah, I saw. I'm not very good at people's names, but it's LaRue67, I think.
Okay.
He's on social media. He had one that he was virtually traveling. That's the only one that I've seen, and I thought that's a really cool idea to virtually travel because, you know, people virtually discover them.
Right. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So like, let's try it out. Let's see how it goes. Have a contest because I see the actual races. You know, this trackable is on a race. So
they usually never get to where they're supposed to be going, unfortunately. Yeah. So this is awesome. Yeah, great idea.
Thanks.
I think it's fun. I don't see any problem with it at all.
No.
Thanks. I agree.
So how do you get ideas for other topics or posts for your blog? This was my biggest drawback, was that I just never got out doing cool stuff enough, and I couldn't come up with cool ideas to talk about. So why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Before I started the blog, I sat down and made a large list of just ideas that I had to see, you know, how often am I going to be able to post or publish a new blog post or new idea. And then once I've kind of, it's like, people don't really care as much about, you know, how to hide a geocache and the basic stuff. So I'm like, okay, how can I make this cooler? So I started looking more on social media and what are other people doing and what interests me. The promotions I think are really fun if you do get one of those trackables. And then hikes. I like going on hikes in my area, so I like to highlight the trail and what people might experience on it. And then, like, talking about social media, like listening to you guys, when you had Doc Firewoman,
Yep.
Firewoman
Deborah?
on,
Mhm.
yeah, she was talking about how she has a difficult time getting her partner to go geocaching or finding someone to go with. And that really stuck with me. I think I'm going to do one about that, tips to get people going geocaching with you or how to enjoy it more. So just different ideas and what inspires me, I guess, when I listen to other people.
Well, I guess if you find it interesting, others probably will as well, right? Because it's not the, like you
I
said, it's
hope
not the
so.
how-to, it's what you find interesting in geocaching.
Mm-hmm.
So besides the blog, what other, you mentioned Snapchat and Instagram, right?
I don't use Snapchat for
That's Instagram.
geocaching.
Okay.
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Periscope, and YouTube. I mean, I don't use them all the time, but I have accounts on them with geocaching.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all of them.
How about Pinterest? Pinterest?
I do. I guess I do have one on Pinterest too.
See, I use Pinterest a lot because I have pages of just birdhouse cache ideas or puzzle cache ideas, and it's a good repository for me as far as like, ooh, that's a cool language, and I might try to use that in a puzzle cache someday. You know, but I can see uses for that in geocaching as well.
Mm-hmm.
Which ones do you like the most?
I really like Instagram. I think partially who you are as a geocacher, what you like about the game, that's what which social media you'll probably go to the most. I really like the location. I like to see where the geocache takes you. So taking a picture of the geocache with the surroundings, and then it also helps me remember that experience. So it's like, what were we doing that day? And, you know, some people write really cool stories. So it's like, I like to see what brought them there, the description. That's my favorite.
Okay.
And then Twitter, I like Twitter. I think that's awesome for sharing different posts and videos and the US Geocaching Hour. You know, that's the chatting. I think of that as more like talking to other people, what's going on, the updates, what's going on in the world and geocaching. And then Facebook, actually, we have a North Dakota Geocaching Association Facebook page. And so I think Facebook is awesome for communities. We have a Sunday night chat that's right before Geocache Talk.
Oh, cool.
And so the hour before Geocache Talk, everyone's talking in North Dakota.
Cool.
And then
Is
they're
that
like,
in
I'm
the
headed to
Facebook group?
Geocaching. Yep. And
Huh.
that's actually where I heard about Geocache Talk too.
I'll have to come check that out.
Magnets in that. Yeah.
Yes, he is.
I'm a member of that group as well, even though I don't live in North Dakota.
Awesome.
I got special permission to join, so I'll have to come check out that chat.
Shout out
Yeah.
to North Dakota. We love you guys. We love you guys.
Yeah. Don't
That's
forget about us.
Having a chat, and that's kind of active back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, I think all of us, I know Sydney and Gary and I have all done social media. We've done several different platforms. How do you get people engaged, I guess? How do you get feedback and get people engaged and get that two-way dialogue going?
I think the most important thing is to just be yourself. Don't do just because someone else has so many followers or so many likes. It's like whatever they're doing, you know, that's their thing. Be yourself. And then I like searching for new people too under the hashtag, the geocache or geocaching, and then just talking to people about if they post a long story on Instagram or they ask a question on Twitter, you know, answer them. They took time to write that, and they're curious to see what you have to say. I mean, you don't have to do it to everybody because there's a lot of people out there, but if something interests you, I mean, take the time and just talk back to them.
So if somebody's getting started on social media, that's what you tell them to do, is just reach out and talk to somebody and be real on it.
Mm-hmm. Post some pictures and hashtag them. I think I didn't realize the whole hashtag thing when I started, that you hashtag, that's how like people search for the pictures, and that's how you can connect with people. And then you can tag people too if they're in the picture.
So in case anybody doesn't know what hashtagging is.
I don't know what that sign is called. That little number sign?
The pound sign or whatever, right? The number sign,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
I was at the. Look at that. Got
Yep.
the symbol. We learn something new every week. So.
Hashtag.
So is that just a symbol for searching on there? It just makes it easier to search, like hashtag geocaching.
Mm-hmm.
Is
And
that
then
all that's for, pretty much?
I think so. I'm not sure. And then I know you can do the @ sign, and then geo. If you start that, I know that's why I have, at Jangie, and then you have the Geocache talk. So if you want to start there, I mean, it kind of pops out. You can see who geocaches or not. They have people that just pop up if you're searching for people to follow.
It's like a whole new. There's a bunch of hashtags going off in the chat room now. So.
Oh, really?
See what you did?
Literally
Hashtag.
just a hashtag, no word after it. Just a bunch of hashtags.
Just a hashtag. And hashtag geocaching. That's in there too.
Dave Mills did multiple hashtags.
So what's the biggest, and you mentioned a couple of them already, but what's the biggest thing or the biggest reason for geocachers to get on social media?
I just like the community that you find. I live in the corner of North Dakota. I don't have a lot of events around me. I can probably count on my hands and toes, my fingers and toes, how many geocachers I've actually met in real life.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, I've not met very many geocachers, which is partially my fault. I should maybe travel further to events, but so going on social media is a way for me to meet new people and talk to them and see what they're doing, come up with new ideas. Not annoy my husband because he hears enough about geocaching as it is. So
I know for us, it's definitely helped. We have a lot of geocachers around us. We're only about an hour from Denver, but we travel a good bit, and almost always we've talked to somebody on social media about geocaching before we get there. So it's always like we kind of know somebody in the area. So that's definitely helped us, be more comfortable when we show up at an event in another state or something to know people. Yeah. I think that's a big benefit of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you mentioned, meeting people on social media before you go somewhere. That's always something I like to do, is if I know I'm going to a new place, maybe I'll see if they have a Facebook group or something like that, and maybe post on there, ask people, what's a good place to go geocaching in the area and things like that. There's a lot of great Facebook groups for like local organizations. I know I'm in a couple, and they're always posted about, people getting their milestones, or they found this cool cache, or there's this event coming up. So that's a good way to figure out what's going on in your area and to meet some people.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Speaking of events, see that segue? That was a good one, wasn't it?
That was masterful. That was amazing.
Flowed right into it.
How can we use social media with geocaching events? Do you have any ideas?
Well, taking pictures, I think, maybe the obvious one. And then if you're hosting the event, you could use like a special hashtag, so then everyone at that event could see those pictures. I know people do that at weddings and they come up with funky little sayings, but you could do that for your event. And then just getting the hype up, come to our event and sharing the news, I think. And then just the idea of having an event. We had an Instagrammer that I had met, Emily Renee. She was coming through the area and she's like, hey, let's have an event. And we'll meet up, and we had pizza. So it was a great reason to have an event. We don't have very many over here, so it's fun to meet some new people.
That's very cool. Just getting to meet somebody that you would have no way of meeting otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. That's how I met Gary and Jesse.
It is.
Right. Yeah.
That's right. At an event.
Yep.
Or probably social media ahead of that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. So it was the podcasts, I believe, and Twitter, also. And then we all met in Denver last year.
Yeah,
it's funny how that worked out, huh?
We just tricked her. We're like, hey, come to this location. Nobody will be there. Don't worry about it.
Come to this random
There's
van.
only like 5,000 people there. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. First event that I got, first time I met Sydney, we were at the brewery.
I met Jesse that day too. It was funny.
Glenn and Rogue that day with her.
Yeah, I recognized Jesse at the brewery thing, and I walk up to him, and he's like, "Do I know you? You look really familiar." And I was like, "Yeah, probably from Twitter or whatever." And he's like, "Oh yeah." And then
I was
funny
in complete overload. I was helping host that event, so in fairness, my brain was absolutely fried that day. And it's funny to see people in person that you've been talking to on social media, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, it's you!"
Right.
That doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was pretty, but yeah, this whole show came about, I guess, because we all met on social media and then at geocaching events.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool.
Yeah, I mean would you say for social media, do you think, Angie, you ever want to do we were talking about going, you have travel ways to get the virtual cache. Do you think you want to try to do more events nearby and just see who shows up, or
in like my area?
Yeah, your little town, see who can,
I have done events. I've done 2 this year.
Have
I think I'm the only one who's ever hosted one in my town. So
Okay. Did anybody show up?
Yeah,
'Cause, I mean,
the first one that I did, I had almost 20 people show up.
Oh wow, it's awesome.
I was really excited, and then it's kind of trickled down a little bit. I know it's just a long drive for most people.
Host a CETO, they'll show up.
Yeah.
People have to get those icons, right?
I drove down to one this year, and there was like 5 people that showed up. So,
hey, that's 5 people. You get to hang out with 5 geocachers. That sounds fun.
I gotta meet Tick Magnet at that one. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We have a weekly event here that's a coffee event, and sometimes there's only 3 of us. Sometimes there's a dozen, but each time it's still just getting to hang out and talk about geocaching. So it's not a bad deal, and it's free. Events are free, so that's great. And there's no maintenance afterwards, which is even better.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And what's the worst thing? I mean, you get a smiley, you get another find.
Even if nobody shows up, you're good to go. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm secretly hoping that happens one day, just because I just want that to happen. Like, I host an event and nobody shows up but me.
You can't do it around here. We've done them at midnight. We've done them in the middle of lakes. We've done them everywhere, and somebody always shows up. You cannot make somebody not show up here. So you need to go really remote.
Yeah.
A 5-5 event. Or they
Yeah, they get mad about that.
Yeah. Didn't we find out recently, Jesse, that's like we got a lot of frowns when we talked about our 5-5 event idea. They're all like, I don't
yeah, because it's not supposed to be difficult to find. You're supposed to tell them where it is. So the terrain can be a 5 easily, but the difficulty, according to some, should never be more than a 1.
It needs to be up in a tree, maybe. Y'all need ladders.
Still just terrain, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's all on the terrain side, yeah. So
that would be hilarious.
now we'll tell you, there's always at least about 100 something worldwide that are about 2.5 difficulty or more. So at any given time. So that's kind of a flexible rule, I think.
Yeah. Interesting.
I still liked our idea of the island with the fence around it, and you had to solve the puzzle to figure out how to get into the. Because we give them the coordinates. The coordinates are right here. The fact is, you can't get to it unless you solve the puzzle to get to it.
Yeah, the opinion I heard was that's still terrain, and I'm not going to mention which of my local reviewers I bugged about it, but I could just tell from the email, he just slapped his head. He's like, him again? What is going on? Leave me alone. Don't email me again.
Right.
But what if I did this?
What if we change this a little bit? We made it a 5. Okay.
So if you're hosting your event up there, I wouldn't recommend a 5-5 event. You might get some flack for that. So
good to know.
Or just go for it either way. I don't care.
Right.
I'll message.
It's fun too.
Just change it after it's reviewed. It's no
There
big
you go.
deal.
I've always wondered that.
Wow.
I haven't done
Don't do
it.
that.
But
That's bad.
Oh,
get
gosh.
blocked.
Oh, we're going to get all kinds of hate mail. All hate mail goes to Shermanator18 at
I think that's not my email address.
just the hate mail goes there.
Yeah.
Wow, we have gone off the rails today.
We got to get back on or we'll never finish
Bring
it.
it back. Bring
Good
it back.
stuff.
How could we get geocachers more interested in social media? We kind of
That's
already
the
touched on this a
question.
little.
I think that's the question because I had a quiz that I had at one of my events about which account has the most likes or follows for Geocaching HQ. And, it's really not that many compared to big other things in the world. And I was surprised by that because they say there's over 3 million active geocachers, right? And
Something like that, yeah.
there's
Yeah.
really not, I don't think there's as big of a group online. Or, they don't stick around maybe too, they get on, they don't know what to do, make accounts, and then they leave. So I'm not sure. I think maybe hosting some type of event where you just talk about social media.
That's a good idea.
We were talking about that before the show. There's education workshops that people talk about how to use social media and Instagram and all that.
So like a social media 101 geocaching event.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty cool idea.
That's
I
a cool
think so.
idea.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Which goes perfect into kind of the pros and cons of geocaching on social media. We kind of made a little list of some of it. Any pros or cons? I guess we got a couple of them here. What jumps out at you?
I think staying up to date on things would be my favorite thing. Those promotions for the free trackables, or you hear about news stories. That one was going around a while about the geocachers finding a lady that was in a ditch or something somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Just those news stories that are kind of uplifting and shed a good vibe on geocaching.
I think that's good too. Every trackable promotion that I've ever gotten, it's not because of the official email that came out. It's usually Joshua that jumps on and goes, "Hey, everybody, there's a trackable promotion right now," and you race on there to to sign yourself up real quick. But that's if you waited till the email came out, they're all gone by then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Joshua, and then the Geo Junkie. I think they do the best job at if you want to stay up to date. They're they write blog posts or they do videos and they just give you new challenges of the month or all that stuff.
Yeah.
Fun little games to play.
Sarah's awesome. She writes such great. And I know some people are like, well, I don't read blogs. All right. If you're going to listen to this show, there's a requirement. The requirement is you have to go to the geocachingjunkie.com and you need to read just one. That's all I'm requiring you to do.
That's the homework for the night?
That's the home. That's your assignment. You cannot. No, I'm kidding. But you should do that. One
I don't think we could require people to do homework.
I guess we can't. I guess we
just did. Gary just did. What are you talking about?
You have to.
It's already happened.
Because they really are. They're really. I'm not a big blog reader, but when I get, like you said, Angie, with somebody who is really good in reading your posts or reading Sarah's or different people's that are just great. I mean, the one that Sir Drumalot wrote that's on our page, they're not long. I mean, I like the fact that they're not book size. It's not like you're going to sit down and read a book, which is a whole other story and a whole other show. But reading a blog post, I think, is really cool. And in writing blog posts, I think we need more geocachers to write quality blog posts, I think.
I agree.
So what about cons of social media and geocaching?
Well, if you don't want to see spoilers, you definitely don't want to go on certain platforms. But at the same time, a lot of the time people don't use GC codes or names or, people are all over the world posting pictures. The chances are that you're actually going to find that geocache. I'm not sure how likely it'll be. But if you have all your friends, like you go to an event and you add everybody on social media that's there and they post pictures about the geocaches they find, I don't know if you'll like that or not, but hopefully they add a story, like while they were there, maybe something happened or something like that.
Yeah, I've never spoiled a geocache, and I look at a lot of social media. I've never been like, oh, I finally found this one, and now it's all completely ruined. That's never happened to me.
Yeah.
What else? Any other cons?
Well, when people leave those nasty comments or just uncomfortable comments, it's like you could just block them though, if it's really that bad, you can block them. Or I don't know why you're on social media if you're gonna go around leaving not the nicest things. So
that's why they're on there, Angie. Unfortunately, there's there to be.
I know. I've seen accounts on Instagram where they just
Terrible.
smash geocaches. There's just videos. It's like, why do you do that? I don't know. Just stay away from me. That's okay.
Yeah.
Well, and if you've ever been into the discussion boards on geocaching.com, you know exactly what we're talking about. If you haven't, don't go there.
Don't.
If you have,
unless you
know
want
exactly
to
what it's like. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the problem is with social media and Facebook and all those groups and everything, you can 80% at least of the stuff is great people saying great things and being helpful. And there's just some groups that want to have a problem with everything. They don't like what you do, and you have to just push that aside. And if you're getting into social media, know that there's going to be people just like anywhere on the internet. And you have to just get rid of that and meet all the nice people on there.
And there's a lot. So
how has you did a Periscope recently. I watched that. That was very good. But how it's tough though. I mean, you did a great job, but it's tough to try to juggle people on the Periscope, you trying to do something, whatever it happens to be, trying to communicate, try to talk to them. You can't really, so it's tough to juggle Periscope. I know that Craig, the Aussie geocacher does such a great job. He does like one a day. He does a great job at it. But that's something I think that we need more of. I know Scott Burks gets on there. He was on there today doing a 5.5 FTF, and it's neat. But I'd like to, I wish I did. I probably should do more. Maybe I'll do one tomorrow when we're out at that new virtual. But Jesse's done some. I don't know, Sydney. You're not really much of a Periscoper.
Tried it for a while. I just don't do cool enough stuff.
That's not true.
It's true.
I liked when you went to the cache, your very first geocache. That was cool.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
But it's like I like go out on my lunch break and find like a parking grab or two, and that's not exciting, but that's all I have time for on my lunch break, and I'm like in my work clothes, and so
like Johnny Cash, he does that.
Yeah, I tried the whole video thing. It's just so much work. I can't keep up with it.
Well, it is, and there's so many platforms too, right? You start doing Twitter, and then you're like, oh, I haven't been on Instagram for a while, and then I haven't done anything on Facebook, and I haven't Periscoped or YouTubed, or so it does get overwhelming.
I think that's something that we talked about, or Angie mentioned at the beginning, was also pick one that you enjoy and just do that one. Like if you love Twitter, just do Twitter and forget about all the other ones, except for podcasts. Those you can't forget about.
That's right.
But
those are exempted.
Those are exempt. You have to do podcasts. That's
right.
Standard. I mean, how else are you going to know what's going on in the geocache world without Geocache Talk?
Of course.
But are you planning to do more Periscope or what is your thought about Periscope?
I think Periscope's a cool behind the scenes kind of thing. Like especially for like GeoPaul, he goes on there a lot too. Instead of having to, I'm sure it takes a long time to make a video that you have to edit and put music behind and all that. I wouldn't even know where to start on that. So Periscope, I mean, anyone can do it. You just push the button and it goes. And, it's okay if it's not that good because people don't have to watch it, Yeah. And it's just a different, fun way to share what you're doing and that kind of thing.
I agree. That's neat.
Gary,
it's kind of spontaneous too, which is fun.
Gary's being called out by his wife.
Yeah. Oh, you beat me to it, Sydney.
What is she saying now to
She
me?
says that she doesn't like when you periscope and want her to be in it all of a
That's
sudden.
true.
Because she has to be prepared, and
Yeah,
she's calling you out in the chat room.
she is. And what's bad is I stopped doing it, by the way, but I would
That's
just
why Gary doesn't periscope anymore.
well, as we'd be at a cache, and all of a sudden I'd be like, start periscoping. She's like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm not ready for all this. I mean, I break into a periscope, and she's like, no, don't do that. Do it somewhere
That's
else.
like periscope etiquette rule number 1. Let people know you're periscoping.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't include people around you unless you announce that you're about to periscope. I'm about to periscope right now. Be prepared.
You guys got to be on the same social media page. Like,
We
she
do.
doesn't want to do the periscope, and you want to do the periscope.
Yeah. Well, the one I do tomorrow, probably when I'm doing the virtual, I will.
What's up, Susan?
Slinky Mom
Gary
will
wants
be
to
there,
periscope tomorrow.
but you're not going to
So-
see her on Periscope.
Gary,
Just-
what's periscope rule number 2?
What is
We
Periscope?
violated it
Did I violate it? Don't tell
No,
people
you
you're about to
did.
Periscope.
in Texas.
What is it?
We went to a cache and we didn't read the
Oh,
cache
yeah.
page first, and we jumped on Periscope.
We jumped to
It took
Periscope.
us like 30 minutes to find it.
Spent 30 minutes of searching for a cache. We didn't read the cache description. We had several people on that day. I mean, Scott
It's a good
Burke was
thing
on
we
there
did.
helping
We
us.
wouldn't have found it otherwise.
No, and your wife helped us on Periscope.
And made fun of me for a long time after, so it works
Right.
out well.
But she was right. She's like, you didn't read the cache description, guys, did you? And like, no, we didn't.
Yeah, called us out on that one.
You did. Oh my.
Oops.
Oh well.
But here's a tip for periscope: find the cache first. Make sure you know where it is, and then periscope.
It's not fresh though.
What fun is that? It's not spontaneous.
That's
Yeah,
not
but then what if you
spontaneous.
don't find it?
That's part of the part of the greatness, I think, of it.
That's okay. You can DNF caches too. It happens.
Yeah.
I've watched DNF periscopes. They're a little longer, I think.
Right.
But that's okay.
I've
Yep.
DNF'd on Periscope. It happens.
It does. It happens. All right. Well, we're coming to the end of the show. Angie, I'm going to come to you last. So, Sydney, let's start with you. What are your final thoughts?
Well, I think for me the whole blog thing just didn't work out. I'm not a great writer. Some people love to write. That's great. Start a blog if you love to write. I'm more into the Twitters, you know. We do the US Geocaching Hour every Monday. We just get together, people all over the world, actually, not just people just in the US. We have other people that join us too. And we just talk about what's going on this week and ask a bunch of questions. And this week we actually have a special guest host. So
Cool.
I'd like to see some of you guys on Twitter tomorrow night for the
We're there
US
almost
Geocaching Hour.
Almost every Monday we're on there at 8 p.m. our time, which is Central, but translate it into whatever time.
It's a Jesse time.
Jesse time 7 p.m. Jesse
There we go.
time. Yes. So you do a great job. In fact, she hosts the US Geocaching Hour.
I am. I'm one of the hosts on US Geocaching Hour.
See, it's perfect. It's awesome.
Very fast.
Yes, it is
Fast.
crazy. Let me tell you, especially if you're hosting and there's just like all these tweets coming in and you have to like respond to people. So, but it's gotten-
TweetDeck is the only way to do that.
it's true.
TweetDeck is your friend.
It makes it very, very helpful.
Jesse, what are your final thoughts on this?
Social media is interesting. It's a good addition to geocaching, in the fact that you can get more information. Personally, I have a love-hate relationship as retired law enforcement with it. So there's some days that I absolutely hate social media, and then there's some days when I know I'm going to be traveling or I'm trying to reach out to, the bigger community that we've all kind of established in geocaching, that I just love it. I don't see any other way to meet people before you travel and have an idea of friends that you're going to meet in person finally that you've been talking about geocaching with and anywhere, so it can get overwhelming. So I would tell people if they're new to social media, like Gary said, just pick one, play with it for a while and see if you feel comfortable with it, if that matches your style of geocaching and social media, and you'll meet people, you'll comment and meet people and everything else, but you don't have to do every single one like some of us try to do sometimes. But I don't think there's another tool out there that can be used as powerful as social media for meeting people around the world in geocaching.
Very good. Very good. Angie, final thoughts, and then also tell us kind of where we can find you on social media.
Well, I think I have a lot of the same views as Jesse. I think it's great. I mean, might as well try it. If you don't like it, you can just delete your account. You know, there's a lot out there to see and learn. I've gotten a lot of really cool ideas and inspiration from what other people post. You can find me on most things with @Jangie. And yeah, my blog is geocachingjangie.com. And I try to post on there 2 to 4 times a month.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Yep.
When inspiration strikes.
Geojangie with a J. That's part of your husband's name, right?
Yep. John and Angie.
John and Angie. Jangie. That's awesome.
Classic.
That's great. Yes. Someday you have to, if you ever had to change it, you could put slip your daughter's name in there somewhere too, but it doesn't always fit. We have some friends who they're ARKs, ARKS, and so it's one letter for each of their first names for their kids. So kind of neat. So that's awesome. Yes. Well, coming up on the show next Sunday, show 66, we're going to have on. Should be very interesting. We're having Fuzzy B on the show to talk about one cache. Well, we'll talk about him as geocaching too, but mostly talking about this one cache that a lot of people have heard about called Mother's Challenge. And it's had 3 finds. The third one was recently, and over 400 DNFs. So be a good evening to talk about that next week. Week after show 67, we're going to have on Dan Hunsick. He's going to talk about his game. We were talking about table games before the show, but it's called Cache Me If You Can game. It's been out for a while now, but I think we need to revisit. For us, it'll be the first time to talk about it, but for some people to revisit the idea of playing a tabletop geocaching board game. So that'll be kind of cool. And then in 3 weeks, we're going to have on Shanice Jordan. She was Sierra in Treasure. And so it'll be fascinating because she's like a crazy character without giving away anything in the movie. But as I mentioned before, you kind of like at the beginning, you hate her in the middle, and then you like her at the end. So that's all I'm going to tell you about that. But she's going to be on, and we'll have a good time talking about Treasure again and just the whole her perspective on the movie, and that'll be fun. So, well, folks, we hope you enjoyed the show tonight. Please email us your comments at geocachetalk@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter. See social media at Geocache Talk, or mine is at Gary Slinkard. Jesse is at Memphis_Mafia. Sydney is at ShermanatorGC. And our Facebook page is facebook.com/Geocache Talk. Show can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Google Play, other places as well. And you can always find it on Geocache Talk website, geocachetalk.com. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button below so that you can see and hear the show on a weekly basis. Until next week, don't just talk about geocaching. You need to go geocaching. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.